circus ditty that you hear on the ice cream truck. Oh, Alan, give me a test.
Testing.
And Matthew, a test, please.
Hello.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There's one of them ice cream
Testing
truck
test.
jams.
Yes. What's up? It's good.
Well,
It's good.
welcome to Smafcast and the soundtracks of your most hellish childhood memories. In all seriousness, welcome back. I don't know what I keep thinking. We're around episode 50. This might be it. If not, it's either 49 or 51, most likely. So that's pretty cool. This is early August that we're recording this, and there's a lot of stuff kind of coming up in the next maybe 30 to 60 days, all over the place. But the first one would be that in 1 week, Alan will be coming out here to Ohio, and then we'll be driving up to Michigan together, and we'll be doing our light fencing certification for judging, competing, and what coaching. So that'll be fun with Terra Prime Light Armory, who you probably just heard on the podcast that released this past week. So that was a lot of fun. And we got another special guest tonight. You guys heard him on the same episode that we first had Terra Prime on, which was the Saber Mayhem episode from Game X a few months ago. What was that, May, Alan? And so we had Matthew Dominguez from San Diego Sabers on the podcast, and he is here again joining us tonight. What's up, man?
It's me. Hello, I am Matthew Dominguez. Good to be here with you guys. It's been a long, long time, but we're here to reconnect. We're here to talk.
Yeah, man.
Sabers.
Well, you've been on the show before. You've done various things with us all over the place since 2018 when we started, and it's you're kind of like sort of like Alan in a way. We call Alan the Saberborg, right? Because he just kind of like knows everybody. He goes everywhere. He does lightsaber stuff everywhere. You're kind of like the same thing. More in the Southern California localization, but still overall you do venture out and play swords and sabers with a lot of different people.
I do swing things and hit people. I do that, and it's been fun, especially in the Southern California area down, and
it's kind of a hotbed for the saber community.
It is a hotbed for the saber community. It's to the point where, and this is a true story, where I would just be at the grocery line, and maybe someone might see like a Star Wars pin, and then we just talk about sabers, and either they have like an ultra saber and they've done things, or they've been part of a group that's local in San Diego. It's just
or they've seen you guys in the park, and
or they've seen us
driven by and been like, man, I'm gonna make fun of them, but I think I want to do that.
I'm gonna call the cops. 911. Yeah, it's awesome, and that's just sort of who I am and kind of what I embody, like you said. So we're keeping tabs.
We're gonna dive deep, and I'm gonna let Alan lead the way on that. Before we get started, please subscribe. If you have not subscribed, please hit the like button or whatever it is you do. Leave a comment that says how nice Alan looks today. Whatever the case is. We like the interaction. We love the interaction, and it helps us to be able to interact more. So please subscribe, share all the stuff, all the things, all the you-know-whats. SaberMartialArts.life, Instagram at SMA Foundation. You're already on YouTube or the podcast network. Either way, you can find us all over the internet. Okay? Find us some more. Awesome. That's about that. Alan, did I miss anything?
No. I think that's good. And
cool.
Later on, we'll talk about SaberMartialArts.life.
Yes.
Nice.
That was sneaky. I like that. Matthew, really quickly, I know you're a big video game fan, and I know in particular you love the martial arts of video games, and treating video gaming as a martial art, and maybe we can get into that a little bit. So I encourage people on the YouTube channel to check out the Gamer Martial Arts playlist. I am about a third of the way through Jedi Survivor on YouTube, but I just finished my New Game Plus playthrough last night. Matthew, did you play that game?
I unfortunately have not.
Really?
I have it though.
I'm
I have
surprised
all
that
the
slipped by
new.
you, or that you haven't
Uh,
gotten into that yet.
this I will foreshadow the rest of the interview, but I unfortunately do not have time.
Yeah, no,
I
I get
am what
that.
we call an adult, unfortunately,
Hmm.
and I just have to make these decisions of keeping my job, playing some video games,
Well, thankfully,
and
the job that I do here for SMAF allows me to at 1, 2 in the morning, sometimes 10 at
we
night,
should trade. I think trade offer. How
get my
about
20 minutes of lightsaber swinging in, right?
how about trade offer? I take that job, you take mine,
Yeah,
call it even.
I don't know,
Uh,
man. You got to have my 3 kids too, then.
ooh.
Yeah, there's a
Hey,
fourth
Alan,
on
how's
the
it
way,
going?
so I don't know. I
How's
don't know.
it?
Oh
Ooh, topic
man.
change. Let's get out of this.
So anyway, why don't we just really quickly, what are you getting into in the video game world lately? What's your game of the day, your game du jour?
There are two games I've been playing. One because I have friends and one because I like. I've been playing Destiny 2. It's just there's people I like there, and this it ends. Period. I just like playing with friends, and it's fun. But no one wants to do anything else most of the time, and so I just get on and do it, and then
Yep.
leave. The the other games I've been playing is a lot of fighting games. I love playing Street Fighter, love playing Guilty Gear. I don't have Tekken. Uh, I'm sorry to any of our Filipino fans listening. That gene did not I did not inherit that, right? Like how some don't inherit singing, right? You know how like the stereotype is we do karaoke. It's not
Oh.
everyone. It's a gene, okay? I did not get the Tekken gene. I have Soul Calibur, right? I have Soul
Uh,
Calibur,
I have been
similar.
I have been victim to your Soul Calibur
That's
techniques.
correct. That's correct, right? So I have an adjacent gene, right? But it's not the gene, and moving on. That's what I've been doing
That's
is
really
playing a lot of
funny.
fighting games,
Oh, that's
and
funny.
that's just what takes up my time. And then I go back to I don't know, life. And that's my video gaming as of late. I do want to change that though. I do want to play more games because I like him. But I think a good philosophy is, I think if you just manage your time and put it
Hmm.
where you wanna, you'll probably get that at some point.
Yep, yep.
So I'm willing to existence that I could pick up my controller more often than I do today. But we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah. I know it's probably like Excalibur and King Arthur for you. You're sitting there looking at them sticks like,
dude, it's
just give me an army
correct.
to fight.
You're so right. You're so right.
So, Alan,
Yep.
take us on a flight here with Matthew.
All right. Well, for those people that are newer to the Saber Martial Arts podcast, Matthew, who are you? Why do we care?
This is gonna be the one time I'll ever talk about myself because otherwise I would never. And you both know this, so thanks for
Yep.
forcing me on this platform.
You are welcome.
Well,
So,
in all honesty, like we mentioned earlier, with Southern California being a place where Saber nerds can feel free to get together, people who are listening who may be in that area, like we encourage them to go find you and San Diego Sabers and go hang out with you guys. So, in all honesty,
yes.
this is an important little moment for you to kind of brag yourself humbly.
Well, it just and just to jump off that sentence, which will lead into the introduction, is I do think one of the faults of me at the moment is not expressing myself enough,
Hmm.
and probably the
Hmm.
club. But who am I? I am Matthew Dominguez. I'm one of the current council members of San Diego Sabers, and we run a martial arts program, completely free, San Diego. Um, what we do is we teach, we spar, much like other groups across the U.S., and we just want to have a translation of martial arts that we see on the we just want to translate the fighting we see on the screen to real world martial arts because a lot of our instructors are genuine martial artists.
Hmm.
Me specifically, being the not founder, sorry, being the council member, I'm here to sort of oversee not just club activities but the growth. I have done martial arts almost all my life and have participated in countless tournaments, whether it be lightsaber, fencing, FMA, HEMA. Actually, HEMA's very new. That's a lie. Maybe like two or three at this point. But I sort of started my career as just a no-name person and quite literally fighting my way through the SoCal scene. And if anyone is familiar with sort of the SoCal scene back in 2015, 2016 area, that's sort of where I stuck my nose in the underground and just, made a name for myself, to put it bluntly. And I guess
Like quite
the
literally the underground.
quite
Sorry to
literally
interrupt
the
you. That's a deep cut for
yes,
anybody who knows what we're getting at there. We'll just leave it at that. Quite
exactly.
literally the
That
underground, though.
you caught the reference. Exactly what I was getting at here. Quite the underground, clawed my way up.
From the
And
pits.
from the pits, from the pits. COVID hit and circumstances, and here I am, you know, pushing the club forward. But I think one of the reasons why I'm in this position is probably just the amount of care I have for my peers. And it's just with all the tournaments I've been, with all like the fighting I've done, I think the best thing I can do besides getting better as a fighter is help everyone and spread the knowledge of what I've learned. And it was interesting, and maybe this is just human nature, but it was interesting because um, that's sort of what I just do generally with a lot of things I do, but it sort of wasn't, maybe still today, but sort of wasn't until I took more of this upper position where it started to become a lot more important that I did this. It wasn't that people weren't listening, but it was like, oh, I think, there's a added responsibility of not just the student, but now that I'm like running the club. It's
Hmm.
like I should
Right.
probably, you know, continue to express what I know and what I've
Yeah.
learned. And comparatively to a lot of clubs, I'm very young. I'm at this moment 27. So, I'm not trying to say I have the wisdom of like a Shaolin monk on top of the hills. But again, this is the one time I'll say stuff like this. I do have the trophies in my closet,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
I do have the footage of me doing things, and I do have my notes that I've written throughout my life. And
Right.
it may not mean much to another person, but again, it would be a disservice if that stayed as private notes, if that
Well,
makes
that's your
sense. So,
credentials, right? And like you said, it almost doesn't matter if anybody else ever sees it, but should they need it, you have it. And
right.
that's kind of this is something I think I mentioned this when you were last on the show to the whole group, but that was a lot of people. Um, I think I said something along the lines of when I was starting teaching, and I won't make this about me for too long here, but when I was starting teaching, especially at a younger age, because I started at like 8 years old helping with the little kid classes and stuff, and then when I was a teenager, then I was allowed to like kind of help run classes and things. So I was young, and I had adults calling me sir, right, and like asking me for advice and stuff. And especially like in my early 20s, it was really weird for me because I kind of understood. Like I had a lot of respect for a lot of adults right at that time, so for them to be
Right.
saying those words to me and like needing that information from me, sort of using me as the adult in the situation, it was really hard to chew on. And then um one of my teachers told me like, you may be like 22, right, but in their eyes, it doesn't matter because you have all the wisdom that they want or that they need, or you have the encouragement or the coaching skills that they. So in other words, like 27 is as good as 54 in martial arts years as far as they're concerned, because you have the things that they need, and that has given you that the respect that you earned to either have the word sir or to run the club in your case, or
Yeah.
to run a class, which is a huge leap. I'm sure like what,
Yes.
maybe go through that a little bit. Like how did you go from, yeah, I think this is a good organic transition. How did you go from like studying with San Diego Sabers and or just martial arts, right, into now you're teaching classes and running a program?
So it starts with a pretty big set of bad news. I think the founder of SMAF, one of the
Mhm.
big one, and of course our
Mhm.
club,
Our
Steve
sugar
Kirk,
daddy, yeah,
our sugar daddy passed away. Steve Kirk,
yeah.
rest in peace.
Mhm.
And that was really tough on the club because, like you jokingly said, which is very much truth, he was connected and well endowed, we might say, right? He was our sugar daddy.
Well, yeah, but
Um,
the biggest thing is he was well endowed, but wanted to use it all for the purposes of things like this. Like just
exactly.
wanted to.
He just loved it,
Hmm.
and that's he was a great guy. He was not a great guy. He was an amazing
Yeah,
person.
inspirational person.
Inspirational at the very least. Which and so the other club the other club council members, Eric Lee Main and Robert Chun. Uh, Eric moved away, and Robert sort of just wanted to move on, which is understandable, right? As one does, and so that left the question: who leads the club at this point? I remember the meeting like it was yesterday, and we had all the knights gather, we had all important people gather, and we just sort of took a vote as to who would be the next three. Um, I didn't count myself, if I recall. I had other people in mind for who should it be amongst the many knights that were there, but it was very fascinating to see to hear that I think I could be wrong. I think I was the most voted person to take the spot.
Wow.
Could be wrong. This is just my recollection of 4 or 5 years ago, but it was basically that. It was, we think Matthew should do it, and that again, it's two other people, right? We picked Dennis. Wow, blanking on his name. Dennis Burke.
Yep.
Yes, Dennis and John Freeman to take the other two spots.
Hmm.
But what I wanted to know specifically was why was I the first to be mentioned, and why me amongst other like more experienced people, right? Older
Hmm.
people who, are adults. And it came down to a simple fact that um, that though I may be the youngest, there was a sense of charisma, a sense of um, groundedness that I guess people said I provided for the club and the people. That's where the joke of my name comes from, for the people, right? I really was there for the club and who needed help, or at least I tried to be. And being so young as I was, it was sort of a gateway to the next generation because we all thought it would be a way for someone with my experience, my credentials, my knowledge to just connect to a lot of younger people these days. And knock on wood, so far it's worked. I mentioned at the round table a couple months back that we've been doing a lot of cons recently, like
Yeah.
tabling at
Hmm.
tiny conventions, and that has been very fruitful. Though they may not stay for the whole year, just being myself, connecting with the people, being on the ground, and just being myself and listening to what people want to get out of our club has sort of been probably the most welcoming factor. And those characteristics was probably why I was picked first or thought of first, not
Hmm.
just skill alone. Like, sure, I can hold a sword and use it and get a trophy, whatever, but the most important part is that I'm here on this podcast talking to
Yeah.
you two. I can talk to who needs to talk to me, right? And
Hmm.
though I'm not perfect, I have a life too, and I'm struggling with it. But the point of the fact is, I do my best put to put the club and people first, and
Yeah.
that's sort of what means the most to me. And I think that's why I was picked pretty pretty fast, pretty
Yeah.
fast in that meeting. And then shout out to the other two as well. We I think another quick point to why John and Dennis also took the spots too was their experiences from their age ranges too, because they are older than me, from two different generations. The
Right.
reasoning was sort of the same, but it was more so that I was the spearhead of it all, I guess you could say. No one really said that in words, but to translate the moment is
Hmm.
kind of what I was understanding.
I have
So
no
that's how I got
problem
into position.
believing that. Just the way that like, so I mean, we've interacted what 4 times maybe in person, and
Yeah.
just the way that like you are around the rest of the group, it's kind of hard to think anything other than you just want to be there. So that in and of itself is like a huge deal because I know for a fact, like as somebody who's trained a lot of teachers at this point, and Alan, maybe you can chime in on this too. Like,
Mhm.
just a kid or an adult, even somebody who wants to be there to help you teach and actually wants to be there, like shows up maybe earlier than you and listens to everything you have to say, does the things you ask them to do, improves upon themselves every time they come there, keeps up with their own practice, just wanting to be there. Like it's such a breath of fresh air that you can't teach people. You can't teach people how to do that,
Yeah,
and you can't teach people how to teach that either.
that's right. It's very tough. Sorry, go ahead, Alan.
No, I was agreeing. I said correct.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
That's kind of open to both of you. I think it's
no,
that
you're
want is something that's so rare that I think maybe people other than myself see that as well, and they kind of go, well, if Matthew wants it, why would we? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't
no,
we?
you're absolutely correct. And I'm not perfect myself, but I think that sort of idea of showing up
Hmm.
is important. And um, you can't teach it. You're absolutely right. It is a skill that I think people just sort of have to like pick up. I'm sorry to say, I know there are classes in schools to be managers and to be
Yeah,
leaders, and sure, that may give you like solid like problem solving skills, but I think the experience of just being a human just comes from interacting with people.
yeah. And
And
teaching is a different
and
layer of that management that you're talking about. It's adjacent
yes,
and it's congruent, but it's not exactly identical.
exactly,
Um,
exactly. And it makes it real tough too when it comes to you know, to make it funny, the the sort of what I've experienced, the negative aspect of what I have been saying is sort of I don't think of myself enough, and not in a bad way, like a what's the word? In the disregarding sort of way,
hmm. Hmm.
but I think because of how much effort I put in the people that I surround with and what they learn and how they learn, is I don't really spend enough time sort of holding a credential. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I guess in an example, right? When I'm at Eskrima, unless SJ Albert tells me to wear my belt, I don't really wear my belt. Because I think that I should just be there and learn. And there's just nothing about it than just learning and come from people. But the negative of me saying all this is that um, I don't really have much of a presence or weight when I really interact with people, maybe similar caliber to my experience, or maybe even greater than me. I feel like I don't have enough merit or sort of a jumping point, and there's a
Mm.
lot of reasons why that could be. I could name a few, but I think personally, I think I don't put things to myself, right? If I walked into a room of Saber Masters, right, I probably would be the last to introduce myself, or
I
probably
mean,
wouldn't
there are
speak,
none
you
yet,
know.
but we know what you're
I
saying.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? It's like but the problem is like I would never take the time to branch out
Yeah.
and sort of put myself online or say, "Hey, I'm the big boy of the group." Like, no, shut up. Like,
Well, I think
that's
I don't know, Alan. Maybe you can chew on this for Matthew for a second. Like, it is kind of a weird thing to kind of like accept maybe your own like bona fides
I
within
will add
within your
this.
peer group.
I want to add this really quick. I'm not saying this as a way to sort of put myself down. I
Right.
know
Right.
when to speak in a business manner and when to like
Mm-hmm.
properly hold myself. I say this as a way of like I have been in situations before where there have been where I've been disregarded, right? Because of the fact that I haven't been, you know, bolstering enough. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Right?
That's gonna
Especially in a
happen again and
room.
again.
It's gonna happen again and again, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
used to it. But just know that I've made peace with that fact, and if I stay hidden in the shadows for 100 years, that's fine by me because my students will speak for me.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. You keep
that's
doing
the
what you're
biggest
doing
part.
because people will come back to you based on who you are and how you've treated them. You know.
Exactly.
Um.
But
I don't
enough
know.
about that. I mean, unless you want to chime in,
Well, I mean, Alan, do you have anything to add or subtract from this?
Oh, this is why Matthew and I are friends, is
Yeah.
because we view that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
My my teacher used to introduce himself, and he'd give you his full name, and then like if he was in a martial arts school, he would give you his rank, and he would immediately say that and $5 will buy me a beer. So, and he's like, so what? So let's not talk about that. Let's talk about you, and let's see what it is that you want to do. And
Hmm.
that kind of shows the humility and compassion um, in 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 the individual, and trying to see how the uh, greater martial morality,
Mm,
which is a huge topic,
Hmm.
but the whole point of, we don't do this to aggrandize ourselves. We
right.
do this, to, help ourselves uh, have a better relationship with ourselves and other people, and hopefully protect, our loved ones. So
Right.
a lot of the martial arts out there, especially, I mean, let's talk about modern day. A lot
Right.
of martial arts out there, we're not here trying to win a trophy. We're here trying to better ourselves.
Right.
Even when you go to like a gun range or something like that, they talk about self-defense. They talk about protecting your family. They're not there to win a trophy.
Right.
You're there to start to learn. And if you keep yourself in that situation and mindset of always learning, always accepting, and kind of
Well, I like what you said.
we call it not
Start to learn, always beginning,
yeah
right? Like always
yeah
treating each new class or each new session as like the beginning of another one.
yeah we
Exactly.
call it we call it non-resistance and non-judgment, a place of non-resistance and a place of non-judgment
Mm-hmm.
in every situation is very hard to be at, right? Because we come with our own biases from our past, our
Mm-hmm.
own,
Mm-hmm.
you know, self-prejudices, and the things that we like and dislike about ourselves that we see in other people. So really, like, to be able to walk into a room of martial artists and, wait your turn, that tends to be the one of the best signs of humility, right?
Yeah,
And a
humility.
lot of times, people think like humility is a bad thing, but it comes back to that adage of don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm not
Hmm.
talking about myself doesn't mean I'm not awesome.
Correct.
It's just like I'm okay without your validation. I
Mm.
don't need it.
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll do
Yeah,
the work and I'll show
yeah,
Look
you,
at my
right?
posture, right?
yeah,
My posture is my
yeah.
validation.
Exactly.
Right. I don't know how many times I've talked to people after, they've seen me a couple times, in my civilian clothes, and they're like, I didn't know you did all of this stuff. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I do
Yeah,
that.
that's my
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My
yeah,
favorite thing.
Well, and being a
yeah.
But
Because
professional, right? All three of us, and
right,
I know Matthew, you said you guys are free, but let's face it, you're a professional martial arts teacher. That's the way it is now.
it is
And
what it is now.
um,
well,
it's
let's
something so strange for
let's
people to
change
like. It's so out of
let's
like.
change the word.
What do you mean?
Change the word professional to certified.
Well, there you go.
We like that. We like that.
Yeah,
We
I
like that.
mean,
because
but that's so far outside the
professionalize.
realm of like what the average person gets up in the morning, brushes their teeth, gets dressed to go do, right? Like,
Yeah,
um, most of the time because we do it in the evening, not the morning. But
yeah,
anyway,
Got him. Got him.
yeah.
You're
um,
so right.
Right.
it's so different. Like I tell the kids too, like, how many of raise your hand if your friends got home from school today and then went to go punch each other in the face and kick each other in the legs and take each other down and then smiled at the end of it. And nobody raises their
Right.
hand, right? Because they don't know anybody else who's doing that, right?
Right.
It's one of those things where now you're in the room with these people. You're all earning everything, and I found that the old heads in the room 9 times out of 10 actually really respect the young people too because they know they were there once, especially in the
Of
martial arts
course.
community. I feel
Of
like they definitely
course.
remember that they were there once, you know.
Yeah.
It's hard work to earn one black belt, let alone like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 of them, like some people. So
Yeah.
that is, I mean, just that amount of time and effort put in, like at Matthew, you mentioned just your effort, right? Like that's how you earn freaking black belts, people, or whatever the equivalent is in your trade or your art, right? Is like effort, time, like, and compassion for those around you doing it with you, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Alan, I didn't mean to jump all over what you were doing there.
No, that's great. Well, I've said this before. The definition of kung fu is great skill brought upon
Yes.
by time and effort,
Hmm.
and that's all it is, right? The kanji for kung fu is a guy pushing a plow and a sprout coming
Hmm.
out of the
That
ground.
is so
That's
beautiful.
literally,
As a gardener,
That
that
was
just makes me
beautiful.
so happy.
That's
yeah.
beautiful. Also, can I say a quick aside that I love how I was able to derail this to talk about like beautiful philosophy and not about me? That's a genuine feedback. I'm glad I did that. I just sidestepped it.
No,
Well, there you go.
well,
Now it's about you again because you did that.
Damn it.
right,
Cut that out. Cut that out.
right, right,
Well, Matthew, that
right.
would be your kung fu, right? Like that personality that you've developed within the the community you've chosen, right? That's like
Yeah.
you've developed the skill of your own personality and how it relates to the skill of martial arts over
Hmm.
time. And I would say that just as a person, like you definitely have that good kung fu going on.
I got that good kung fu going on. I got that.
I don't
Grew up
know,
in
Alan,
those
did I use
schools.
that even sort of in jive talk? Did I use that correctly?
Yes. As the
Kind of.
professional. Kind of, better
Kind of.
than not. Better than
Is
not.
there such a thing as jive
Close
talk in
enough.
kung fu? I don't think so.
Um, I mean, depending on who you talk to and how racist they are, yes.
Got him.
Um,
Clip that. Clip it. Post it. Got him.
Oh man. Oh man.
We're
but
good. We're going
Gosh.
far,
but yeah.
boys. We're going far.
So,
Oh.
Matthew,
Yes,
because
sir.
we talk about this a lot in your martial life, right?
Yes.
In your teaching, in your uh, certification process. Let's talk about your certification process. How did you
Sure.
become a knight
Hmm.
in San Diego Sabers?
Okay, so I'm gonna lovingly correct you guys
Mm-hmm.
because that is the way the school is I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually a battle proctor.
A battle
Um,
proctor.
a battle
Okay.
proctor, and it's been that way for a pretty long time, and that
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty sick.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause how our school works and is we have the initiate to Padawan to knight system, as most other
Mm-hmm.
schools do, and I'll talk about the trials in a minute. But once you become a knight, it doesn't sort of stay at night to some degree. I mean, you could earn yourself to like battle master and beyond, but in our school we have sort of adjacent titles. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and how you earn them is by, how do I say this? I'm blanking on the name, and this is a big shame on me because I don't think anyone has earned one in such a long time. But essentially, if you express skill in a certain aspect, you sort of get like side graded.
Like a
So if
Okay.
superlative.
Yeah, like so I would be a battle proctor because I've expressed proficiency in more than one form. And what that means is that I'm able to not just express it in a fight, but teach it as well.
Hmm.
And our school goes through the seven forms. We exclude the seven for safety reasons, but we acknowledge it and we sort of say that it's
Mm-hmm.
there, but don't do it. Um,
Right.
and but we teach our saber forms, and becoming a knight includes picking one of them and again expressing it well and teaching it well. Like I just mentioned, I
Right.
can do it with two, Makashi and Ataru. And that's just sort of been the two that I've stuck with throughout my growth. And once I became a knight, it was honestly minutes after where actually not minutes, that's not entirely true. It was during the Lightspeed event where we were all in Vegas that one time in 2019, I
Mm.
believe, was when I sort of jumped the hurdle for Makashi because I've been an Ataru practitioner the whole time, or at least I've been dominant in it, Makashi
Mm-hmm.
being the back pocket pick. But
Mm-hmm.
that event was sort of proof. Like I
Right.
could teach it, and I won a competition doing it. So battle proctor, and that's where I sit. Other examples include like chronicler. So if you basically can name everything Star Wars whenever you're asked, you're a freaking nerd, but you also get a cool title.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
Well, I think about
specific.
Marina,
Oh,
right? Marina has a title, and she's
yes,
been on the podcast talking about it before, but it's been quite a while. So why don't you explain her title real briefly too? Because
right.
it's a pretty cool
So
one.
it's a pretty cool one. So she's actually a wanderer. Um, and she's that way because I believe she has the qualities of a knight, but hasn't actually like
Gone
done the
through all the
trial
trials
or
yet.
gone through the process. No Padawans, no knight to take care of her. So she has the skills of a knight, but isn't a knight by trial. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's earned it through her perception, actually, which
Uh-huh.
has been pretty awesome because she, if you ever speak to her before and after a fight, most of the time she'll get it right.
Yeah.
Exactly what you were thinking and how you were planning
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And it's pretty astounding.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I think she's said to me before, like, I may not be able to do everything I
yes.
know exactly the way I want to, but I will get there one day, and I can tell you exactly how, like, I'm gonna get there, kind of thing.
Yes.
I agree. Like, man, you said if you talk to her before, like, talking to Marina is. Oh man, I probably shouldn't let her hear me say this. I should probably
Oh
say
boy.
some mean words to her
Careful.
first. Mean
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
words, Marina. Mean words. Okay, now I can say something nice.
Nice. Good, good, good.
Talking, talking to her like about fighting, during fighting, watching others fight, about your fight that she just watched you do. Like, it's just so. It's like the little kid who finally got to the North Pole and gets to ask Santa all the things that she wants to ask, right? Like,
Yeah.
just okay, how did you make this bicycle? How did you, right? Like,
Right.
and it's not like she's just asking you to be like, yeah, if you remember the School of Rock movie,
Oh,
Summer, the class factotum, right? Like,
yes.
Marina's
Yes.
not trying to be the class factotum.
No.
She just is super actually interested, which is, so again, a rare quality that you just can't teach. You can't make
Yes.
people interested in the stuff you can try. You can be as
could try.
interesting as possible, but they can't.
Mhm.
You can't make them be interested. And she is
Yeah.
genuinely interested in anything you have to say.
Yes, and to her credit, and I'll do some shout outs for other names too,
Yes,
because
please.
they totally deserve it, but Marina has been putting the work with other martial arts as well. I mean,
Yeah, we've
she's
seen her
been
on the Doce
rocking
Pares page. Shout out to
exactly.
Original.
Shout out to that one, and of course, I want to shout out Jonathan, who's knocking it out with HEMA right now. His improvement and tech and awareness has increased tenfold, and I say
Mm-hmm.
that with confidence, man. Like it's just we just have a lot of really perceptive people in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with Marina's case, though she may not physically do it for a number of reasons, her mind's there, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's enough to hold a very powerful conversation. And there's other people do it too, but Marina especially is why we have her hat with that
Well,
title.
Steve, I mean, I
Oh,
only saw
Steven.
Steve actually swing a
Oh,
lightsaber like three or
Steve
four
or
times
Steve.
ever.
We also have like four Steve. So
Oh,
I'm
I'm
like
talking about
crossing
Steve
the
Kirk. So
wires.
like,
Steve Kirk, yes.
he was
Yes.
an example of somebody who like didn't really physically do a lot, just for many reasons, but
Right.
was constantly present and aware, and I think he earned a title too, didn't he?
I
Well,
don't I mean
obviously,
besides Ascendant.
posthumously, he earned the Ascendant
Right.
rank.
I think again, it's been years. I know here I don't know what title he had prior to being Ascendant. I think he was a Taskmaster and a council
Mm,
member.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the Taskmaster one was very, very scary to me, mostly because of his connections and how much he knew of people in the club. That was the part that was way more impressive to me than fighting prowess. It was just like I don't know how to explain it. There'd be days where he would give someone like a gift and he's like, "Happy birthday." And it's like, "We've never spoken more than two sentences." Or he would say, something 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 something. You're like it's like it gives Nardwar vibes. If you know who Nardwar is,
I don't,
he's
but
the
I
gentleman
know
that interviews musicians, and he would always ask just an out of pocket question of like someone's deep history, and they would always freak out and be like, "How did you know
well,
that?" That's sort of
I
the
know for a fact. I don't even know if I should say this on the
oh
air.
God. Oh no, what did I just do?
Okay, I'll just put it this way. When Steve first flew me out
Mhm.
with Bede in 16 or 17 for 2018 for Intergalacticon. Um I dude, when you started talking about this, like the grin that's on my face, I'm telling you, he was
There's
like,
a story.
he was like, okay, I need a copy of your driver's license so I can get your plane tickets, blah blah blah, right? So send it over. Like he'd already had like a copy of my driver's license somehow.
What?
Right? Like,
Huh?
yeah. So,
Mm,
and there were other little things like that, but at the same time, I trusted him implicitly, and
right,
completely.
right. It's weird. You could do that kind of
I can't
stuff.
explain it.
But you're like, you know what? You could take my life. Take me
Yeah,
away. It's fine.
yeah. Well, he could have had me on the federal no-fly list anytime, but instead of putting
He
me
could have
on,
banned you.
instead of putting me on, not, I didn't do anything, obviously. But instead of putting me on, he was like, only half jokingly, like, so what did that person do to you? Do they need to be on the no-fly list? So anyway,
Oh my
this,
God.
special titles for people who have special skills, and as far as special skills are concerned, Liam Neeson and Steve Kirk are kind of on the same rank there.
I agree.
Um,
I agree.
let's see, Matthew. Let's talk
Yes,
a little
yes,
bit,
yes.
because you mentioned, and Alan mentioned, like, we're not necessarily here for like trophies and medals. We're here to get better, blah 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 blah, all those things, interact and teach and blah.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
But at the same time, you're one of the winningest competitors in Saber
Oh
competition,
boy. Oh my goodness.
I would say. I mean, Alan, would you
Oh
say
my
that's fair?
goodness.
Like, it depends on your scope of Saber competition, but in our scope of Saber competition, you've won quite a few.
Mhm. Yeah.
I've lost my fair share of tournaments,
Sure.
but yes,
But let's
I
speak
there
to the dichotomy
uh,
of being here
right.
for the right reasons and being here for competitive reasons, and how that can still be the right reasons.
Right. So I think so yes, I have one. I've lost count, and that's not me bragging. I've genuinely have lost count. There are trophies in my closet that just sit there,
Well, before COVID,
and
there were Saber events like all the
there
time.
were Saber events left and right, once a month at the very,
Yes.
very least. And so the journey of competitive fighting has already started way before that as a Taekwondo uh, sparrer. I mean, I would compete with the school, but it was really like how do I word this? Like backwater strip
How
mall.
long did you do Taekwondo?
I would say 5 or 6 years in an official system, and
Really?
then 5 or 6 years under my high school, which
Did
is
you earn a black
very.
belt?
I didn't in either case,
Huh.
which is
Interesting.
even funnier. I have an honorary black belt by my
Okay.
teacher,
Okay.
but no, I don't have an officially awarded tested black
Interesting.
belt from either time
Interesting.
I was in it. Um,
Okay.
but
Anyway, continue.
anyway,
So you were competing
yes.
in Taekwondo.
So I mean, yeah, and none of it had to do with like with a weapon, right? It was all just fighting and stuff like that, which with your feet and your hands. So how I came across the fighting competitively was just simply I got bored and I wanted to do it. End of story. It starts and ends right there. I
How did it not get unhealthy for you though? Like, I feel like for a lot of people, maybe not a lot. Maybe.
there had been moments, I'll admit, there had
Okay,
been
so
moments
so let's
where
unpack that a little bit.
sure, sure, sure. So how I turned it from being unhealthy to healthy. First of all, the unhealthy part was I was trying to run away from a lot of personal problems, mostly the home life.
Mm-hmm.
So fighting became a way to me to express myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became the forefront of my priorities. There's the
Mm-hmm.
big red flag, whether it be not completing certain school assignments or spending time like training versus what I should be doing. That is sort of my escapism was working out and training and competing. And that's where the big unhealthy part sort of started. Was it just took over what I cared about the most.
Hmm.
How I was able to reel that in, however, was the fact that instead of it taking over my life, I use it as a gateway of I ever done it before, but I put more emphasis on expression. And something that I've learned from therapy and all these things is that for me especially, I benefit mentally from being physically active. And coming back from competitions, coming back from training, I always I've learned that I come home with a fresh mind, whether it be I'm relaxed or I've learned something valuable, right? And coming to these competitions, you get your mix of like hot-headed people, level-headed people, novices, right?
Mm-hmm.
I I took these times in competitions to, and it's gonna sound really weird, to really see the humanity of people and to really depict like another perspective of life in a very heightened sense. This isn't no Olympic foil competition, right? This isn't Michael Phelps in the pool.
Couple
But
of
it was
robots competing
Not
at the
yet.
highest
not yet.
level.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Not
yeah,
yet.
not
Not
yet.
yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. But that was sort of the conversion was like, I mean, uh, just to break off real quick, like this is going to be very vulnerable. This is a personal story. There was a time during practice where I was so frustrated with home life, I'm not going to be specific,
Mhm.
that I actually just wandered off and just walked out of the park and just walked into darkness, like in down a street. Like my brain went blank. And one of the one of the nights, Jeremy works I think works border patrol,
Yep.
something
Border Patrol.
adjacent
Yep.
border patrol, right? Yeah.
We'll
So
we'll just leave it at that
we'll leave it that. And
for
so
the
his
interest of his
brain,
privacy. But Jeremy is good people.
yes, Jeremy's a great man, but his red flags went off. His alarm bells rang quick. So I've
Hmm.
been walking there from, according to people, about a good 20 minutes, and I was just gone. And so I was already like mentally checked out, and they found me down the street, and they like shoved me in a car and drove me back to practice, and everyone was like crying and panicking, and just like what the hell happened? Like, why did you do that? And I remember that day I was just so numb to feeling anything. I just didn't feel good about myself or other people, but I just said, the one thing I can do right is train
Hmm.
and be good at fighting. That's all I could do right. And I just wanted to just feel like I was doing something right for once. And that was to me both good and bad, right? It was good because like I've acknowledged that this is an outlet for me, but it's bad because that was the only sense of value I put in myself was
Mm.
fighting. Not
Mm.
just not winning, I want to be specific, not winning, fighting. Because a lot of the times when I talk to people about this, I've only ever shared this story like to maybe three people. Sometimes what they've given me back was you were concerned with the attention of winning, the spotlight, the glory of it all, and that's fun. But genuinely, no, it's why it didn't go to my head was because just being in the ring, being in the moment, feeling alive was there, and getting that passion, the heat, right? Just being connected to your opponent, your adversary with an equalizer of some sort, maybe your fist or a sword.
Hmm.
That to me was the pinnacle of escapism for
Mm.
me, and that sort of is why I felt that way. And I broke down shortly after. I said, I feel awful. I have not accomplished anything in my life. You know, that's bad. So then, to a positive note, I took that experience, I took this, and I started applying those sort of disciplinary things to other stuff. I said, look, we can separate these things, right? If there's a problem in this place, right, and I can't solve it, why not I relax? Let's go spar. Let's go jog, right? Turn into a
Hmm.
healthy mindset
Hmm.
because I
Hmm.
notice I come back from these things resetted, right? I don't come
Yes.
back from a tournament hot-headed or boastful. I come back a new man. And I go, why can't I do this as a way to be healthy instead of just an outlet? And then from that point on, sort of just
It
applied
became
that to
healthy.
it became healthy, right?
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the reason why one of the reasons why competing has never got to my head. Another big and this is going to be a more shorter subject. Another big factor is because every single school that I've ever practiced in, I may have been in a couple McDojos now and then, so I'll discount those. But a lot of the schools that I've been in that are worth their salt. Dos Eparras, biggest mention, but that's not the only one. Um, they're, you know how, you guys know this, you know how schools have tenets, right? Like their values, right?
Sure. Creeds or whatever the
Their
wording
creeds or
is.
whatever
Yeah.
it is. Every school that has worth their salt that I've ever been in has always started with honesty, integrity,
Hmm.
indomitable spirit, self-control.
Hmm.
Just very, very, very powerful tenets of a person.
Hmm.
And from birth, that has been instilled to me. And maybe that's just the way I look at life as a whole and why it didn't go to my head. Maybe that's why it didn't cross the threshold of being too unhealthy. It did, but like too unhealthy was because that's what stopped me every single time from becoming a nut job was there's no point in bragging about this. I did my best. I win or lose. I'll fight the way I know how to fight. If I didn't fight well, well, that's on me, right? I didn't train hard enough, or maybe, the person was just significantly better. The point is, it is wholeness of self is sort of the end of the day. And though life shook me around a bit, I feel like that was sort of the foundation of it all, despite how I came to better conclusions, was just being a man of my word most of the time, integrity, just discipline, right?
You said, what did you say?
Perseverance.
Wholeness of self is for the end of the day. That is a
Oh yeah,
freaking
something like that.
tattoo, man.
Yeah.
I'm getting that tattooed to my
You
butt cheek,
should,
dude.
and you
Like
should
that
put
is
my name
that is
thumbs up.
incredible. That like I think
It's
about
up
that.
there.
What'd you say?
It's gonna be up. It's gonna be up there with Fode's live life laugh love tattoo.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Live, laugh, yeah, right.
I mean, like that is my wife, Alan. And I have talked about this a few times over the last few months on the show. Part of the reason the show kind of went under for a few months was just similar stuff. Just like life, man. Life takes over all of us here and there.
Life happens,
Um,
yeah.
and at one point, like I kept I told Alan this too. Like I told my wife, like I just don't feel like me, like ever. I wake up, I don't feel like me. I go to sleep, I don't feel like, and I'll be in between. I just don't feel like me. I don't sense the me coming out and sharing itself with people, right? And like,
Yeah.
it's really depression is the word that comes out of that feeling for me. Like I just feel that like that depressed feeling taking over when you can't, like you keep saying express yourself. I mean, it is what it is. As human monkeys, we need to express ourselves somehow. And many times, many different ways. So she had said to me, like, we have to work on filling your cup. And excuse me, I have the hiccups. Everybody's heard that phrase, like filling your cup, or your cup is half full, your cup is half, whatever the case is. But like she was really just getting it, like you have to be spending, okay, like you have to do certain things like work or chores or watching the kids, whatever. But during that time, like like you like to cook, right? So if you're going to cook dinner, don't just cook dinner because you have to cook dinner. Like put a cooking show on, something you
Yeah.
enjoy while you're cooking. Get back to why you care in the first place, because like you're going to feel better about feeding your family. That's just one example. Like hunting,
Yeah.
that's something I love to do. And it became where I was just like getting in the tree every morning just to get in the tree and get after
There's
those deer or whatever. And she's like, that's not why you hunted in the first place. You
It's
hunted
not
in the
why
first place because
you
you
want
like
food.
nature. You like the trees and the squirrels just as much as you like the deer and the venison. And I was like,
Right,
you're
there for a
100% right.
purpose. It's just,
So yeah, what did you say? Wholeness of self. So I think of that as like the whole glass is full after you've spent all day, every day adding to it, and you have to surround yourself with people. But like it's so easy to say. How freaking hard is it to do? Constantly do.
it's difficult. I mean, I'm in therapy, as I believe almost everyone should be, and that's just sort of the thing I circle back to a lot to with my therapist is just the idea of just pushing through some of your hardest times and just looking for an end goal past that, and just seeing the bigger picture now and then, right? Like, I mean, I was just talking off air before this. I don't like what I'm doing in school, but I know there's an end goal to this, and just gotta tough it out sometimes. But if you let that pain be the fixation, then you're gonna be uh you're gonna have a bad time. In fact, it's one of the tenets we have at our school is driven but not obsessed, right? So you want to be able to push yourself to where you want to be, but don't let it eat you whole. Um,
Right.
and that's I think that's just really important.
Alan, what you got for
Let
Matthew?
Yeah,
let's
I'm a be
let's
I could talk
define that.
for hours.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the reasons we do this, because this is a little bit of our therapy too, right? Is
Right.
is being able to make sense of
Oh,
all the hours
100%.
that we spent on the mat and be like, why am I doing this?
Right.
why am I still doing this?
Or even
Right.
just
So
to escape some of the other stuff we had to do. And like, I know that at 11 p.m. Eastern on a Tuesday night, I'm going to get to talk to Alan about stuff that has nothing to do with paying bills or
right,
raising children,
Yep,
right.
Well,
yep,
maybe something to do with some of those things, but
right.
as it relates to lightsabers.
Right. Well, the
I
coolest. You go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say, I just want to say to people who are listening to this episode, you're welcome. You're welcome. You came in here. Maybe you did. Maybe you saw my name and said, "Who is this kid?" and then didn't watch. But you know what? To those who said, "I'm gonna give it a go," you're welcome.
Right, right,
You're very
Oh,
welcome.
Alan,
You're
you're
getting, and one last thing, one last thing. This may not be I'm not teaching you how to hold a saber or some secret fighting tech right now.
right.
Jokes on you, I am. That's
right,
the plot twist. You hear me, you hear me, listener? I'm not giving you some secret Eskrima tech. No, no, no. I'm giving you secret life tech because
Yeah.
without this, you're not getting far with anything. You understand me? I love you.
right.
Keep up your chin. Do your best. Alan, keep talking. I'm sorry.
Well, that's good.
That's
Those are
good.
all good
This is
messages.
fun.
The biggest message, right? The things that we speak about here on this podcast, because we are having a fun roundtable discussion. We're talking about, you know, real manifestation, kind of like what made you you, and why is it that important? That's the reason I ask those questions in the order that I ask them. So like real power, right, is manifesting change in your reality, right,
Yes.
to bring beauty, hopefully beauty into the world. And that's the thing, like whether it's your own self concept or um your philosophy that you can share with others, and have like-minded individuals on their way to a specific goal.
Hmm.
That's basically what a school
Mm.
is a bunch of like-minded individuals that are trying to achieve the same goal. So when we're looking at this um, whole thing, your message to the people is right on. We are looking in our life to experience, you know, the beauty of our life, and that which makes us miserable is usually, ourselves.
Hmm.
And trying to understand, the things. And I mean, there's a whole philosophy of dharma versus karma, and a whole bunch of things. I could
Yeah.
talk about the chances of you experience your life as the chance of a sea turtle going through a life preserver in the middle of the ocean. It's like a crazy, like, poetic thing, right? And it sounds
Hmm.
great, but that doesn't help you unless you can take a second, like you said, and relax, take a walk, and be with yourself. And that's very hard to do. Like, some people hate the sound of silence
Yeah.
because it makes them think about themselves.
But it's
And
important.
it's very important, right? And self-reflection is a big thing. Like,
Hmm.
one of the things that our principles, right, and actually, so that are basically every principle and every style, every philosophy, right? They're all pointing around the same principle, and overall, it's don't be a dick.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
Oh my good. I'm gonna interrupt you. I say that every time, every time there's a handful of new students at
uh,
class, we go through
uh,
our attendance. At the
uh,
end of it, I briefly say, "This means don't be a dick." Just straight.
right.
I just say, look, it sounds fancy. We're not a cult. It just to
Yeah.
translate what we're saying to you new
Right.
people, don't be a dick. The end.
Right.
Right? That's all it
Right.
means.
Right.
And
These are a
yeah,
couple. These are a couple ways not to be a dick,
there's a couple
right?
ways not to be a dick, but the
Yeah.
biggest
Right.
underline, don't be a jerk.
Right.
At the end.
Exactly.
That's the
Right.
end.
So
Uh,
yeah, that's what I mean though. Is like it takes some self-reflection, right? So we in our school we have what's called the eight pillars, which are
yeah.
basically the ideas of what it takes to become a realized person and to contribute to the life universe and others, right? So a lot of the stuff, it does come down to, are you cool with you? Are you trying to be better than you were the day before,
Hmm.
the hour before, the minute before? And what does that look like? Because like I know a bunch of people that are really into music, and these guys have been, you know, playing forever. They've become clinical about their music, and they have home studios and things like that. But unless they're playing the music, they're miserable, right?
Mm.
They
Hmm.
they
Mm.
I know those
they're
people,
not,
man. You're
yeah,
so right.
it's just- yeah, and but
Self-destructively miserable.
right, and unfortunately, that's kind of what it is. And you see a lot of people, or one of my teachers actually, I spoke about before. He actually started martial arts because of music, because he basically worked himself to the point of having like a chronic condition and chronic pain that he had to go to martial arts to fix it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So like he had to stop the thing that he was doing, and stop going, okay, this is my pursuit, and take a second and look around and go, oh wait, maybe this isn't what I wanted. I still enjoy it, I still love it, but this isn't exactly the path that I want to do. But now he's also used his martial arts and the things that he's learned and done, and gotten a bunch of connections and things like that. And he went back to music, and he's not doing it for any sort of recognition. He's just doing it because he loves it, and because he's doing it because he loves it, he got a bunch of recognition. So it's a
Mm.
weird
Hmm. Hmm.
way and it took, and this wasn't overnight, of course. This is something
Of
that took
course.
a long time. But that's kind of like what you're pointing out, is that there is beauty out there that comes from you, and it's usually in the things that you enjoy. And if
Hmm.
you enjoy them in order to for any other reason other than to enjoy them, it usually goes south. So,
Exactly.
enjoy what you enjoy, find the happiness, find the beauty, and everything else kind of takes care of itself.
Yes.
And
People say like people say a lot of stuff, but then people say that if you find a job that you truly are passionate about, then you'll never work a day in your life. Like they
right.
also say like if you make your passion your work, that
Hmm.
you'll hate your life or whatever, like
Yeah.
Right.
so it's
Yeah.
it's a tough coin to flip sometimes.
It's
Right.
that
I've been
balance.
involved heavily in both music and martial arts. Um, and for a long time, I wanted to be a comic book artist. I had this grand idea that I was going to be like, like a Frank Miller or like Eastman and Laird, and I was just going to sit in, my bedroom with a homie and write these awesome stories, and draw these cool. But like, I never got to the point where I could draw that well, right? I never wrote a finished comic book script or anything. And then when it came to music, my mom told me, she was like, she's a professional musician. My brother's a professional musician. He also has to work on a food truck. Like he also
Hmm.
runs a podcast for another, another outlet. So just you have to do other things. And she told me, she was like, man, like be careful about making the thing you love your work. And it became that I
Oh
was
yeah.
playing the same songs all the time for certain things, and
Hmm.
still having fun and playing and singing and doing music, but like it was starting to get a little stale, and I was starting to be like, is this really who and what I want to be? And then somehow just serendipitously I got back to where martial arts was paying the bills again. And like that's where I feel I am now, is that first one where I found the thing where it's really not work to go to work. Like, yeah, sometimes I don't want to go. Sometimes I'm like, man, I got to teach the 3 to 6 year olds tonight. Crap. Like,
Right,
but
right, right.
on the other hand, it's like, well, I could have to go to the Honda plant every morning at 5 a.m. and not get home till 5 p.m. I don't have to do that. That sounds pretty awesome not to have to do. I get to go teach 3-year-olds how to kick people in the head. That's way cooler.
That is way cool.
It's way cooler. Like Sunday morning, I don't go to church, but I went to a church and taught like a dozen kids some little stranger danger, some little kickboxing, and a little bit of lightsaber fighting for an hour. Like that, there are so many worse things I could have to do, right? Like, so it is interesting how you can have multiple passions like that, but I forget which one of you kind of said this. I think it was you, both of you. You do have to be able to separate which passion goes where and how you're going to treat it when.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a word salad.
Yeah, but you're right. But you're absolutely right. You just gotta. I mean, man, we could be here for hours. But yes, one of my jobs is, and I can say this confidently, I am a commission painter for miniatures.
Oh, that's cool.
People come to me to paint their stuff, and you know what? I kind of hate it. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever painted anything for myself in months, but that's a whole other.
No, but you're playing the
rabbit
same
hole.
instrument. You're playing the
Yeah.
same tune that I'm playing right now, right?
I'm basically just proving your point.
Yeah.
And it's just it's rough.
What
But,
would it
you know-
take? Sorry, I don't mean.
Go ahead,
What
go
would
ahead.
it take to get that passion back? Just that? Do you know? Do you have an idea?
You know what? I'll be frank. I don't know, and that's exactly what I'm fighting for
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
That is today's struggle, and it might be my struggle forever, but it is something that I, versus other people, I'm at least putting the effort to try and change.
If you need some miniatures painted, don't not contact me. Get a hold of Matthew.
I will do it. I like money. I will do it. I like money. But
Well, yeah, we don't want to
that
turn
you're
down the
taking-
business there.
You're taking, and it will be amazing. My White Scars Army at a recent GT got second place, best painted, and I wasn't even
Oh,
there
wow.
to see it because
That's
it was for
cool.
somebody
Nice.
else. But I got the text a couple weeks ago, just like, oh, by the
That's
way,
pretty cool.
just want you to know, you're an awesome painter. I'm like, yeah, thank you. I have won awards with my paint jobs.
That's pretty
That
cool,
is-
man. My wife's a visual artist, so I appreciate that quite a bit.
Yes, the story writes it. The story repeats itself with a different medium, boys. I am not just a fighter. I am
Yeah,
a lover and
yeah.
a painter. This is
Musashi
But-
would say that that's the way you should be. All the things,
the way you should be.
right? And Da Vinci would have said the same thing, and Ben Franklin would have said the same thing. So,
And look where it got them. In the grave, 6 feet. I'm kidding.
well, I think they were all pretty old by the time they died, at least
yeah.
by standards of the time.
You're so right. You're so right. It's sort of to tie this, if I may, to because I really just want to say this to anyone here. This conversation I want to say probably is, I think, one of the most important thought process, I should say, in martial arts, and not just growth. Well, I know we turn it into real life things, but if we want to bring it to sabers and lightsaber combat and the future of saber martial arts, and me as a fighter who is objectively successful, I tune it to what we talked about today, and I'm just gonna say it with a bold period. I think I've met a lot of people who, they talk a lot and they say words, but they don't really provide me actions. They don't speak with their fists or their swords. They just sort of word salad into my face. I know a lot of people who are successful fighters who are medalists, right? Who brag like I don't think they eat. I think they just talk the whole time, right? Like I don't think they have a moment to breathe. It's just all about themselves. There are many ways to be successful, right? And I'm not trying to say that my way is the correct way. I never will. But I will say that I think, comparatively to a lot of people in this hobby space, I think having this mindset has sort of made me grow the fastest, one might say. Has connected me the fastest, has allowed me to be mature the fastest because and here I'll even give an example, right? Jonathan and I have just recently taken up HEMA. Jonathan being another knight in our club, Jonathan Pena, and we came in with prior skills doing sabers, but we really easily meshed in with HEMA and the group. We didn't think we would be friends with them at all because
Mm-hmm.
they were just not the vibe. But I think our general charisma, being with the people, talking, asking questions, showing up to tournaments, getting medals, I think that sort of connected us with the people more. And every time I go to club, we just talk about life and then, we drill. But I think having that humility, that humbleness is one of the biggest growth parts of not just um just as a martial artist, as a person. We talked earlier in this call about video games and fighting games, right?
Mm-hmm.
It all applies there too. Obviously, in the video game world, we have a lot of hotheads, and that's just the way life is, just like in real life. But um, it having such a control of your learning, ha- having such a control of your emotional sense, in my opinion, correlated to how you learn, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in a fight, when you're in a fight, being able to control your mental state is a huge boon because then you're able to temper yourself, not commit to false actions.
Oh yes.
People think, people think, and I've had no one disagree. No one who's worth their salt disagree with what I'm about to say. Is people think that the fighting is not just with your hands and your body. It is 100% with the mind at the same time, if not more,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is the battle is not just what you just see in front of you. It goes dimensions beyond the physical realm. When you're with an opponent, or even when you're walking down the street, there are layers and layers and layers to deconstruct about the situation. Okay. And so people who have the mental capacity to control themselves in these high stress situations, like a spar or a tournament settings, often are the ones that can be more successful. A lot of I mean, don't get me wrong, I still get nervous when I got nervous being on this call. I'm still nervous before a tournament, but um but there is a very it's very common for people who are taking podiums to be very sure of themselves most of the time, right? It's not just the experience, it's the
Hmm.
confidence in that heat, in the pocket, right?
Hmm.
And you just don't get that if you don't control if you don't temper yourself.
Mm.
And that's plugging in what we have been talking about the past hour and a half uh
What
to this
Hmm.
point, right?
that's
It
been one
all
of the greatest benefits as far as like what is martial, because people always say like, oh, it helps you in so many other areas of your life. I've been guilty of just calling that phrase out and just leaving it at that. What the hell do you
right.
actually mean, right? And I think you're
Yeah.
explaining what you actually mean. Like, one of the greatest things that martial arts can do for the rest of your life is give you that sense of like, well, something's tough. Let me just keep trying anyway. Or I already did this 100 times, but I might as well just do it 101 because it's going to be better, right? Like
Yeah.
that kind of like, I think that's kind of what you're getting at, where you're kind of like, excuse me, you're
It
used to that. I don't know if it's the potential for failure or the possibility for failure, or there's, but failure could also be just the other side of that web, is just like another strand of that web, maybe would be the possibility for learning something new, right? So like,
yeah, it
I
it
don't know.
gives it gives people another sense of control, and
Control.
in a good
That's the
way,
word you were using. I,
right?
I couldn't I couldn't bite the
No, no,
word you
no,
were
that's
using
fine.
again.
It just gives people what having what this is. It just gives people another sense of
Yeah.
control. Because like I just said, there's more layers to a fight than just you and the opponent in the ring. But how are you able to really like depict that, right?
Oh.
In fighting games, we have a joke, and I'm sure in real life too, called the flow chart. Sometimes, you pick a character that has a yes and button, right? It's like if like you pick Ken. Do you sure you can? Do you not sure you can? Yes or no? Then you win or you don't, right? Do you run in there and throw loop or you don't? It's like brain dead. Shout out to Ken players. I'm one too. So it's like I don't have much time to learn other characters, guys. Don't at me. So the so but you know, good fighters can adapt in the ring. They can adapt in situations, but you can't just adapt, right? What does it mean to just adapt? You don't just change the way you think in a dime, right? It takes that control. It takes that
Mm,
mental control.
grease in that
Um,
groove.
Yes, it's really hard. It's really hard. A lot of newbies I know get nervous. See, I come across two people, two types of beginners. I get the nervous ones that are too timid to make a choice, and I get confident ones who have no control of their mental self or body. So they just autopilot.
That's what I was trying to
Because
kind of that's what I was kind of
I
trying to get
got you,
at.
bro.
Yeah,
I got
man.
you.
Like, okay, so
Because
so you
oh, go ahead,
said
go ahead.
something about people taking the podium and be okay, and you also said that you were like, nervous just getting on this call, which is hilarious, by the way.
It
And
happens.
uh, no, but
All
in all seriousness, like I think a lot of people, martial artists included, right? That but they get nervous when they do things, but it's like that difference. I think of it like this. I've always been really good at just like getting up and doing something. Like, okay, we need you to get up in front of 2,000 people and pledge the allegiance or whatever the case is. Like
yeah.
I've never had, at least as far back as I can remember, I've never really had an issue with that. And I think it's because I started martial arts at such a young age and was forced to, like, okay, you got to go up in this tournament. You got to go stand up in front of a bunch of old black belt people and announce your name, your age, and perform a kata at a very high level, right? Like, or as high of a level as you can accomplish in front of them right now in this high stress situation. And then, of course, it's like, okay, I got to speak at graduation. And it's like not a big deal. Like you get that feeling of nervousness about to poop your pants, right? But then like
Yep.
you just walk up on the stage anyway. It's like it's really no more complicated than that. It's like this nervous, nervous, nervous. I'm good. And
Yeah.
I can't really explain it any better than that, but I think that's kind of what I was trying to get from what you were getting at.
Right. It's like, once as a fighter, right? Once you're in the groove, you're in the groove. That's just, you know, that's
Mhm.
just how it
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
But sort of adjacent to what you're saying, I do want to touch on the fact that people often ask how, right? We spent all this time talking about the way to think, the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
to
yeah.
behave, right? How? How do I start? Do I just not be a jerk anymore?
No,
No,
that's
I think
it's a really good
I
question.
mean that's a good question. Yes, if you have to ask that question, most likely yes. Right? Let's start with that. But but to give people some homework to do, it's really just getting in the ring, putting yourself in that pressure and checking yourself, right? How did I feel? How did I do? Did I do good? Did I do bad? Am I improving? Am I not improving? I'm not asking everyone to be like Buddhist monks by the end of this conversation, but I'm asking people to say, hey, just reflect a lot more about yourself in these high pressure situations,
Mhm. Mhm.
and you'll get a lot out of it. And to your point of like you're still nervous before you do a thing and then you do it, you're in the groove. That's human. That's human nature.
Yes.
I'm still that way. You're just gonna be
Yes.
like that. But but
Being able to
when
get
you're in
through it.
these when you're in these high stress situations, you're gonna default to your lowest setting. That's what I tell people.
Mm.
You're gonna when you're
You're
in these
gonna
high
get back to
stress,
Shicho right away.
you're gonna get back to Shicho right away. It doesn't matter. You may think in your brain that you're the best Krav Maga screamador fencer in the world. The moment someone tries to mug you, it's
Yo,
what you've been running the
guaranteed
past.
somebody out there has on their
Guarantee you,
on their resume they have eighth degree black belt
100%.
in Krav Maga,
Yes,
Escrimador,
it
what
doesn't
fencing.
exactly. It doesn't matter because in a tournament, in a real stress situation, you're gonna default to your lowest setting. And
Yeah.
low doesn't mean bad, it
Yeah.
means what you've repped and what does your body do.
Yeah.
So really the big message here is to practice. And I'm telling the audience what to practice is that mental state, right? It's not just do 100 kicks, do 100 strikes, it's be mindful of it, right? I got into you sparred a person that made you upset. Why did they make you upset? Why were you losing that fight? Right? Why did you lose?
Mm.
Right? Just, why am I not emotionally happy with myself right now? Why am I frustrated? Maybe I'll never understand why this person's beating me. Maybe let's ask them questions or calm down. Maybe I was too heated. I was
Mm-hmm.
pulling trigger too much with my strikes. All these questions come, but you don't really get there unless you get in the ring and try. And you'll never, and I want to say it one last time, when you're in pressure, you are going to default to your lowest settings, no matter what it is. And you just have to make sure that your lowest settings is your eighth degree black belt skills, right?
Yeah,
You
your
have to
sharpest
make
tools are still
it's
your.
got to be your
Yep.
sharpest tools. Yeah, your dullest has to be your sharpest, and that's just how it's gonna have to be. But you're not gonna get there if you don't practice and try. Um, and again, the mindfulness. You can give me 1,000 cuts, but if you're doing it brain dead,
Mm,
it doesn't really matter.
doesn't matter.
An example, just to round that subject off. Just last Thursday, I was doing a drill at a Doce Pares, and I was, a lot of my martial arts practice happens at night, after work, after school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually really tired and checked out,
Mm-hmm.
but with our system, one of our teachers, Master Hoey, shout out to him, love him. He always stresses, well, he yells at me specifically to train with passion, right? Sometimes I'm too busy trying to do the technique right, and he's saying, you could do that, but don't forget that you're not actually putting the effort as if though this was happening. So I would do the blocks, I would do the strikes, and he's like, what the hell, dude? This is not. If someone mugged you right now, you're not gonna say, hold on, let me set up the pads, let me set
Yeah.
up the strikes, let me ask. Sure, you want to do the technique right, but once you got the drive going, you got to put yourself in that mental state of
It's got to
of
have a
you.
part of you doing it.
It's got to have a part of you doing it. You got to be locked in. You got to
Yeah.
be in it. And it's not just the training, it's the fighting, it's everywhere. And I get called out on that pretty frequently. I'm not perfect,
Hmm.
but that's just something I want to remind people is just to stay locked in like that. Or conversely, relax, right? If you're too locked in, right, then you're stressing yourself out. You're not flowing like
Mm-hmm.
water.
Mm-hmm.
You're not being malleable to what needs to happen. You're not
Well, to use
adaptable.
another San Diego Sabres tenant, right? Like focus, not fixated, right?
Folks, thank you. Focus but not
Yeah.
fixated. Exactly.
So
But
let's
yeah,
let's add a little brevity.
sure.
Let's or
I'm
levity.
5'11".
Levity's the word.
I'm 170 pounds.
Levity's the
My
word I
favorite
was looking
color
for.
is white. No, I'm kidding.
No. You we talk about the mindset a little bit, and you actually mentioned like in the moment, in the high pressure situation.
Yes.
Let's just a little lighthearted chat, and we'll kind of go around all three of us here.
Let's do
Give
it.
some little tips and tricks, a little, like how we kind of deal with, specifically sparring is where we'll start off with. Because especially with lightsabers, like we're not really using lightsabers for self-defense. Although if you try to break
Yeah.
into my house, I guarantee the first thing your ass gonna feel is polycarbonate at the speed of light. But
There you go. There you go.
but in all seriousness, like sparring is very high stress, whether it's lightsabers, fisticuffs, or jujitsu, rolling, whatever. So I'll just start out to kind of give you an idea what I'm talking about. My first little tip or trick that I give to people, especially when I can tell they're thinking way too hard, like you were just talking about, Matthew. When I can tell they're fixated on something and they're getting hit more, or they're just not landing what they want to land because their brain is just on overdrive thinking about whatever I'll just tell them,
Yeah.
like, I use the phrase, think about pizza. Like, what's your favorite pizza?
Okay.
I want you to think about like whatever you're going to eat after class today. Like I want you to think about a movie you just saw, but pizza, man, just think about pizza. Like, how easy is it to just get lost thinking about pizza, right? So like if you're fighting and your job is to not get hit, right? That's your main job, is to not get hit.
Yeah.
Why would you spend your entire time thinking about not getting hit? Because you're not going to be able to think as fast as you need to not get hit, right?
Right.
So
right,
why not
right,
just think
okay.
about something totally different? Your body will take care of the rest. And it's a really hard thing for people to let go. You mentioned control earlier. It's really hard for people to let go of the control of like, I'm going to kick now. I'm going to punch next. Oh, here comes that jab cross combination I've been practicing, right? Or here comes that Ataru velocity that my master showed me last week. But at the same time, it's like, if you just practice the damn velocity, then you can bow into the fight, start thinking about the pizza you're going to eat after class, and just fight.
Yeah.
And it's a really weird thing, but it's again, like you said, I keep saying, like you said, but you keep saying some good things. Like you said, if you don't practice it, you won't be able to call on it when you most need it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That would be my tip or trick. Would be the proverbial think about pizza, but really what I'm just saying is don't harp so hard on what you're actually doing. Separate the right and left brain a little bit.
I'm also going to order pizza. That's not a joke.
So good.
That's
man.
amazing. Thank you.
Oh, so good.
Goodness.
I love pizza.
But that's a really fun trick. I'm gonna try that out right now. Oh, not right now, but while Freudian slip. I'm ordering pizza right now. I'm gonna try that at practice. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, just when you start fighting, just start thinking about pizza, man.
Oh, dude, yeah, jeez. Man, that's fun.
I almost can't not think about food when I'm fighting unless I just ate, and then I'm thinking about not puking. So
That boy. Good one.
So who wants to jump on? Give me a little tip or trick for dealing with the high pressure of sparring or regular fighting.
I got two. If you are, actually, I have three really solid ones. This is what I do. If you're at a tournament, you should have a routine. You need something to lock your brain in. For me, I listen to music. I have 3 songs I have to listen to before every tournament, and I have to listen to those 3 songs. They put me, and they changes the songs, like the when I play them don't have to be in sequential order.
Right.
But as long as I hear these 3 songs, then and more, I have like a whole playlist, but they play, I'm in. And that point is find something that'll ground you the day of, and that just takes practice. That takes going to competitions and doing things to figure out what it is. Mine is music, and mine are other songs. What is yours? Go out and find out next week on Dragon Ball Z. Like, that's what you're gonna have to do. But find something to ground yourself.
Yeah.
I
Maybe you
I
change
used
your
to
shoes like Mr. Rogers. That's something I do.
Yeah,
I have a
change
pair
your
of
shoes.
shoes that I fight in, and
Yeah.
changing from either my flip-flops or my sneakers of the day to those shoes is like my Mr. Rogers moment where now I'm ready for the neighborhood,
That's a good one. I mean, Manny Pacquiao prays, and LeBron James does those weird hand gestures. So, you have a whole spectrum of what you want to do.
Dustin Poirier pulls his shorts up.
So yeah,
That's
one
good.
thing.
I like
Another-
that. Have a routine or like a set sequence that you follow that day.
Another one for sparring, like if you're training like on like a sparring night, remind yourself at sparring night, please.
Oh, you mean
Go
in
ahead.
not fight and kill other people night?
Correct. Well, not just that, but like that's important too. But oftentimes I face people who treat sparring nights as tournaments.
As if it's a legit competition.
I
Yeah.
fought people that count points. I fought people that say, well, I'm really beating your ass this night, and I'm like, well, and what? Do you want a cookie? Like,
What are
you know
the
what I'm saying?
stakes, right? In
What are the
in
stakes?
rehearsal, what are the stakes?
Correct. People often forget that, right? And it's usually the people that don't compete that
Yeah.
act like this
Yeah.
that I've learned. So, but not just remember that because of that, try things, go crazy. Well, not too crazy, but don't be afraid to experiment, practice what you've learned. Sparring is different from drilling. So that's another tip. That will also reduce nervousness, right? Because now you're not thinking about it as a competition. You're treating it as like experiment time, open play. No stakes. I may lose. This guy may clap my booty, but it's okay because I learned how to block. Right?
I think coming and sparring with you guys in San Diego, like obviously and Alan, same deal. Like obviously we'd sparred with other people in other places before, but just coming out there with you guys, I think that's one of the things that I sensed the return in respect and courtesy from me just being willing to like not really care about the result of the sparring match, right? Like, because it's like you said, it's not a tournament. I have no desire to compete with any of you. I came to your home to hang out with you. Why would I want to
exactly
right? Put
no
my
ego.
dirty, muddy boots on your couch, Rick James, right?
There's no ego. Exactly.
So anyway, to me, I think I sensed that where it was like, once you guys realized that I was there to play toys with my techniques, right, with you, and then you started to play toys with your techniques, and I would get a little whooping here, get dish a little whooping. It was great. It was like
It's fun.
this ultimate
I
expression, like keep saying.
sometimes, and this is true to this day, sometimes I to fault myself too. Sometimes I get nervous when I fight people that I've never met before
Hmm.
because they're the
Hmm.
scariest, right? You don't know what they can do, you don't know what they can't do. It's a completely blank state. So you have to rely on your pure instincts when you fight brand new
Hmm.
people.
Hmm.
Um, and so I get nervous, right? Because I'm like, oh geez, is this guy gonna, you know, pull some weird gimmick on me or what's happening?
Sure.
But just I just have to remind myself, especially when people are watching, right? That's usually when people watch the
Hmm.
most,
Hmm.
right? When an exciting
When
fight
the new
happens,
guys
and just
there with
remind
the old guy
yourself,
or whatever.
right, right. Remind yourself, it's practice,
Right.
just practice. If you're fighting someone, you get beaten, or the people watching you, or it's just practice. You didn't lose anything. In fact, in reality, you're only wasting your time if you didn't take something away from it.
Hmm.
If that's how I see things, right? Because people are like, I shouldn't be here, right? Like I'm just gonna get destroyed by this person. Well, okay, sure. First of all, for fighting.
I think I learned this
Second,
from I think
at least take something home with that.
I think I learned this
Go-
from Alan, which is uh, to kind of like a little bit play the wolf in sheep's clothing. Like when I spar with I actually really enjoy sparring with new people, but to your point, it does make me nervous, especially if I've seen them spar a little bit ahead of time, and I have a little respect for what I've seen. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it makes you more nervous because there's more danger involved or more anxiety or whatever the case is.
Yeah,
But also, you want to prove that you're not a chump either, right? And
yeah,
that's one of those things I always give the other person credit before we've even tapped gloves. I already put them at the top of the mountain over me. And I think this is
that's a good
something I
idea.
started doing when I started teaching just to like make students feel good right before like sparring with me or whoever or a higher rank. But then like I started doing it myself to other people. Like a couple weeks ago, there's she's not really a new person, but she's been doing martial arts at a different place for a while. And she came in, she started sparring with us. And I hadn't sparred with her before, but I'd noticed that a couple of the boys in the room were treating her like she was made of glass, and she was kind of pouring it on them. So what I did was when she asked me if, because she's like one of those people that just wants to spar. Doesn't matter who. She just wants to be there sparring. You
Yeah.
can appreciate that. Um, and she's like, "You want to spar?" I said, "Sure, yeah." And then immediately I gave her that credit. I put her at the top of the mountain. I was like, "You're probably gonna break me. Just treat me nicely, right?" And
Right.
then over the course of the round, I actually start to open up some techniques. I start to do some things that I know, and she realizes like, okay, he's he's not being an idiot. He's not being a dick, as you guys say earlier, right?
Right.
But
Right.
he is now going to show me the respect of giving me the techniques that are going to be challenging or playing this game with me, but we're not going to hurt. We're going to dance that line where we're still not going to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And it's cool when you are with a new person where that connection start. Now I'm like, I can't wait to spar with this person again. You know what I mean? It's like that was such a fun experience. I was on the ropes for part of that round. Like it was great, but not literally on the ropes where I'm seeing stars and Tweety birds.
Right. Right. Right.
Alan, what's your tips and tricks for the night?
Good, good. No,
Damn, got him.
Get good.
You're so right. You're so right.
It really does
all right,
solve a
man.
lot of
Good night,
problems.
everybody.
It
Good night,
really
everybody. I've
does.
been Matthew. I'll see you in San Diego. Y'all take care.
It does. It solves a ton of problems if you just practice
No,
and get decent and skillful.
Been a blast hanging with you guys.
Yeah, the mic is
no,
dropped.
the most important thing, um, when my students ask me about that stuff is like, it's exactly what we've talked about this whole time is like, well, where are you in your training? I- if you practice something, that's what you're gonna do. What are you practicing right now? Are you doing that? Great. Then practice that. if you're worried about anything, it's go out there and lose, go out there and fail,
There you
go
go.
out there
Mm,
and learn from that experience so that it doesn't
yeah.
happen a second time, a third time, hopefully never a fourth time. So the the whole point of going to do these things is to what? Test your skill, test yourself. It's not about winning, it's about where am I in my training?
Hmm.
You know,
And where
Mm-hmm.
am
can I
I,
go if I want to?
yeah, yeah, and comparison is the theft of joy. So don't think about somebody else's
I like
stuff,
that. I like that.
you know. Uh, So you have to just show up and go, okay, I need to see where I am, right? It's if we were on a trip from here to, the South Pole, every once in a while I'd like to look up and see if we're going the right way, you know? Every once in a while, we're like, okay,
Uh,
are we in South America? Okay, cool. All right, we're
why
we're
why
still
are we,
all
why
right.
are we passing Maine?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like,
Hold on, hold
I
on,
see
hold
the
on.
Eiffel Tower. Wait, no, no, this isn't right. So, and that's the very is one of the more important things I find is that, um, like you said, there are times where certain things happen and you're practicing and somebody is in it for not the same reason as you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have to have an environment conducive to learning, conducive to growth, conducive to basically making sure that you are on the same wavelength as the person that you're up against.
Yeah.
So tournaments for us is a way to, as the old masters say, play. It's for us to go, hey, this is the technique that I know. What would you do against it? Oh,
Hmm.
okay, cool. Let
Hmm.
me see if I
Hmm.
can figure out a way to not get hit by that. Okay. So that's like the pinnacle or the celebration of martial arts is competition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my philosophy. That might not be everyone's philosophy, but my philosophy is that if you show up to a competition, you're sharing your martial arts with, your fellow combatants, and hopefully they are in it for the same reason. They're not there exactly for the shiny, not actual gold medal. You know, the,
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yeah,
it's it,
hopefully.
yeah, it's the point. It's the point of I am going for this. If you're in it for the clout, if you're in it for anything besides the purity of your martial art, you'll have a less good time,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And I mean, how many more Karate Kids do we have to make in order to get that lesson?
Yeah.
You gotta do this, and you gotta like doing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you don't like doing it and it's making you miserable, you got to stop doing it. Especially with martial arts, it actually seeps into your bones. And this is
Yep.
not. And there is no. Um, I keep on telling this to people. You're not going to use your martial arts every single day, right? We aren't out hunting saber-toothed tigers and using our weapons to feed ourselves. you know
Yep.
y- but there are certain times where you will use it to maybe center yourself, or maybe be able to get up because you tripped and fell.
Hmm.
Use it to
Or not fall
eh,
because you have some balance, some
yeah,
flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
exactly, and being able to recognize the situation is going to go bad before it happens. There's a lot of stuff that we
Yeah, that's a big
teach
deal.
in martial arts through movement, through practice, that we can go, oh, okay, I've seen that. My teacher calls it controlled trauma. You know,
Control trouble. I
yeah,
like that.
in
I
order
like that.
in order to in order to test yourself if you are in a situation where like you said in sparring, where you have a half a second, if that, to respond and go. And what are you going to do? What you train.
Yeah.
So if you continue to train yourself in a way where, you know what, this is just how it goes. This is just how it's going to be. We are gonna be able to take on high stress situations so that if I feel that stress in my, non-martial arts life, you know, I can actually go, oh, wait, hold on. I know that feeling. That's stress.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
what can I do to do that? Okay, well, maybe I need to step away from it, take a look at it like I do on my fights. And maybe
Yeah.
I step back and I go, okay, this is how I got hit there. Ooh, maybe I should, take a step back and actually do my taxes. Maybe I should,
Wait a
do
minute.
a lot of
Or
that
get married
stuff.
to somebody who can do it for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or at least knows a good accountant.
Yes.
Um,
In my
so
case, both.
be so, but that's what I mean though, is we call it martial arts, um, you know, but it's not just, the combat aspect. Martial coming from the Roman god Mars, being able to wage war and create warriors, but a lot of that is actually a misnomer. That's not the biggest part of it. It's the most physical part of it, but the more important part is the art.
The art part.
You know,
Yeah.
in the martial arts, the arts are subjective. The arts are basically exactly what every other type of art, painting, cooking, whatever you get from it, what you put into it. So
It's interesting
if
you
you are,
say the art is most important. I
yeah,
was just thinking really quickly about like grammar and stuff like that because I
hmm
think I said earlier I was supposed to be an English teacher. um,
hmm
so I was just thinking like we have this notion of best for last, right? So you say the term in English martial arts, the term arts is last. So in your brain, like, oh, the best for last, right? But then on the other side of
hmm
that, if it was the most important, it would be first in most cases, right? But in
right,
Latin or Greek, where the term ars martialis
hmm
is the term, art comes first.
right,
So it's just interesting to see it from both sides.
right.
First most
Well,
important and last most important.
that's the beauty of it. I find is that in everything that we do, there is definitely a time and a place to do the testing, the um, the stress the stress testing really is what
Mm-hmm.
martial
Mm-hmm.
arts
Mm-hmm.
most martial arts will tell you. It's stress testing when you go and you actually do a contact
Mm-hmm.
tournament or anything like that. There is a ton of people that do uh, they might do other things. They might not do the exact um, you know they're not into getting hit or hitting other people. Maybe they're in it for the forms, but still that skill and that competition creates that sort of same stress and that testing of your skill against somebody else and hopefully your friends, afterward, because that's really, the beauty of it. And again, we talked about this before, but this is art. It should create beauty, and
Correct.
hopefully
Correct.
that beauty is within yourself and your relationships with your fellow human beings. And it's not about uh you know a shiny plastic and metal trophy or metal.
I I think that's a perfect place to end this. We've been friends with Matthew for quite some time because of all the things you just said, and
hmm
because of a great person like Steve who had all of these qualities we've been talking about, who helped us kind of feel and realize and come together about it all. So I think
hmm
Matthew, that just means that you're locked into coming on again, doing another episode with us, and unpacking some more of this, because honestly, this is like, I had no clue what to expect when Alan told me you were coming on tonight. I had no clue what to. I knew it was going to be fun, obviously, because we're friends. But like, I had no clue what we were going to talk about or anything. Like, how cool has this been? And
Yeah,
you mentioned therapy, like this is my therapy, and it has been a successful session. So I got to thank you guys for that. It's a really good episode. I feel like we really should go another hour and a half. So we'll table it, and we'll do another hour and a half to 2 hours next time, and really have a good
You can always
time.
call me back on. I'll be here.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe we'll invite Marina, or maybe we'll invite Kay, or I know we've been talking
that'd be so
about
awesome.
having Master Albert on at one point. He had said it was cool, so maybe, I don't know, Matthew, maybe,
see
you know
what
what I'm saying?
happens.
Okay.
I want to talk to Kay. I miss him. I
Oh
wanna see
man,
what he's up
we
to.
love that guy.
Love that guy.
So yes, I want to say thank you to both of you guys. And Matthew, thank you for coming on and doing this with us and taking time out of your
for
night
having me.
and your pre-pizza
Yes.
night here. Go ahead, tell us what you're going to order on your pizza.
Well, okay. Here's a cool send off. I got pepperoni pizza, classic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a deal on Uber Eats for buy one get one. So I'm getting another one. I'm thinking vegetables. I put some peppers, some olives, some ham. That's a fun pizza.
Ham is like the vegetable of the pizza meat world.
You're right. You're so right. Like the thing was, I mentally prepared for just the pepperoni pizza, and then Uber Eats said, "Oh, by the way, you can get another one for free."
Is that your favorite
But
pizza topping? Pepperoni? Classic?
it's not my favorite, but you can't go wrong. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
it's
saying?
true. It's true.
Can't go wrong.
I would say that I never order pepperoni pizza on purpose, but whenever I see it like sitting on the shelf in like, you know, the hot box or whatever, I'm
Oh,
like,
you just
yeah,
gotta go for
I
it.
have to. I have to
You
have
just
it.
have to, yeah. Yeah.
Well, please check out all the things and stuff. Matthew, why don't you tell us how to get a hold of San Diego Sabres?
Please, we have an Instagram, San Diego Sabres, Facebook page, San Diego Sabres. Our website is sandiegosabres.life. You can get a hold of me through any of those three platforms. We're at San Diego local. We have a awesome free tournament coming August 31st.
Thank you for
It's
mentioning
the
that.
Memorial Weekend. We have all the information on our media platforms, but it's going to be an awesome tournament with no prize but no entry fee. So use this as a way to connect with other fighters and get that practice of tournaments in. And it's also going to be a barbecue at the same time, so food.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lots of food.
I miss joining y'all for them barbecues. Oh,
It's man, the tradition's still alive, and we'll think of you.
I know.
You'll be in our hearts.
I know.
So that's it. That's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And if you guys still can't get a hold of Matthew or San Diego Sabres after all of that, go to sabermartialarts.life. Check under the school section. San Diego Sabres is there, and you can get a hold of them through there.
That's right.
So thank you very much to everybody listening. Please do the subscription stuff. Do the sharey stuff.
Right.
Do the comment, likey, mash and smash that button for me. You know, guy. You know how it does. Okay. I'll pretend I'm all Gen Z about it. Okay. Do something about it. Sorry, Matthew. I didn't mean that to be a slight on you guys.
I know. I think I'm a millennial.
Are you?
I
Are you still on that line? We'll find
The
out
threshold
in the
is
next
moved. Bye,
episode of
everyone.
Smafcast. Find out if Matthew's a millennial. We'll talk to you guys next week. We'll talk at you guys next week. And once again, thank you for listening. And please bring your own saber.
This party's over.